Mai o tapa tapa pois se salo tu ao malama bata o te mi ao au tai ai le pongi sa se le ke po ai me ai am se ai va pe ai o le pia po leo la tatou se atu I numbers mulmuli ia po nai pese nei I le round mulmuli leo la tatou anga ia tu ai stasi nei o pese fo o lo I lunga fo I o le city luas fulmali lima o fa ngoina ti ngao le lofa
stasi o pese tonu fo o DVD fo
ai o langona ma patia
Sambaliala ole matiba
Thank you.
Mau stasi nei o pese ia na tusia fo ele li pese ia lala i tango moa.
manato haftai lava le io atu te atu le pamalo nai bale afi mai ne fia fi mo lunga ne po haftai Samoa mai tai le lo fatu mo nganga te tele ua malie o mleo la tu talifa ro mai matu fatala ulat tu manatu wale tasi le lua le tolu le fa au fatele no tu tali mai la fatala ulat pa malanga mai mele Samoa mai taele lo fatu welu mo le tu ala fatai nei post time yo la tu le so tu pal mai sunga de MC nei mai a tau lava ia Samoa o lo to pule le fatai wa mlie malo lo to pule mele Samoa ana fapea ele totele lango I tau sanga tele o mai o mai nei aso te manatu ole no to le to fafonga I se Felice Mikaele ia la leo po la vas me la le Samoa ia to fatu tumo le tua me fa mai mau nei po ono lo su sila lo to fa ia I tama fa na o Samoa
Talofa, olo e mai mo mai le tautua le ala talua le KVZK TV, Pango America Samoa. You are watching KVZK TV Channel 2, Pango American Samoa.
La ulupe ualele vau maoa Italo foi la upele uale iloa
They seem to gain more importance when you're far away from home. Our people touch the same ocean, though our country is quite unique. So as we share our ocean, it's understanding we seek. We are the people of the Pacific, and we've come from far and wide to share and gain experience, working side by side. We are the people of the Pacific. It's our part of the world. So as we learn together, our flag will be unfurled. Though the world still changes daily, we must learn to plan ahead. Peace and understanding is the path that we must tread. The Pacific is more than an ocean. It's a beauty that's all on its own. A sparkling jewel on a planet. Touch it and you're touching home. We are the people of the Pacific, and we've come from far and wide to share and gain experience, working side by side. We are the people of the Pacific. It's our part of the world. So as we learn together, our flag will be unfurled. We are the people of the Pacific.
Talofa, olo e mai mo mai le tautua le ala talua le KVZK TV, Pango America Samoa. You are watching KVZK TV Channel 2, Pango American Samoa.
La ulupe ualele, lele vau maoa, italo foi la upele, ola upele ualeilo. La ulupe ualele, lele vau maoa, talo foi la upele, ola upele ualeilo. E tō tele o lai tau tale le ngan Samoa. Tō tele whaongare ngan Samoa. Te msalo a whaitani pasipia e mawhal pasenya wei alo whaongai ne pele ngan Samoa. E ti tiare Ingirisi msalo pe atupulanga talavou waenga night. E ai o le whalawe lawe. E leo le leina whaongare ngan Whaila me whaoa o se fo ie whanau mal tupulanga. Ai ola uinoa e kusa malufusiri. Wa uloa lea to te lea o talafurisia al tato tunu oro whaongalawa le ngan Samoa. Ale toanga matua e unai whanau le whaongale ngan Samoa e le to ainga me se patu rope no fo lau la ai e nei si nan e poco uma ngang ai nei la si ngang e fa sa mo uma tra ai ngang me si ke le ka kala e tem salo o te lo te le nga merna e una e matua e fa na ngan Samoa. Vai o matua al pongai. Ale una ia matua ia. Men ole nan moa. E la fa na ulai ti le i matua. Ola talata o la school. Tau ngalo fa Samoa este yo. E o fa ia fa Samoa ia. Wa asol mo el matua na nanu ia ia ngango ko na fana ele fa pe ia mo fo na manu tatu kana ai ilo tanga Samoa la to e ono mel sotai e ono mel masusua talanoanga ile ngan Samoa il taiminde e foi tembi alo so mai nai pertania e stembi ya e foi fegi al total al melna le ai no beale ngan Samoa ya tato ele me foi na va ia tengata pure saltonga tengata e total am fangale le ngana anal fautuanga e manu le ngana e tauna pui pem fa pel e maresi mea e su alta la no Samoa e le ngan Samoa o te lo nan o che poco foi ngam che le lo pesi si poco a cuia le ngam ale taua ya te una me taua ya te total fa Samoa a o te mi tauna fa mal l'Inglis pos fondo pos tanto angamen palangi ya fa mal l'Inglis te mi tal no et Samoa la tu sa amo ngana ne total o ta fo istemat ale nanu pe ho valmole Tele lo pe me sawal na tel tununga. Salu e falo fo ia. Ta fa so te pe. Tingal me ton fa Samoa. Nanu ia. Pe fa pe ia behind ia pe ale nan. Be lo me se save mal na tel tununga lo ta. Eu fui a suau por Samoa e ele ngan Samoa. Eu li foi lá, ela veio volver ele virou. Foi a onga tatu. Foi a onga ngan Samoa. Te lo pe profia nisi. Lo profession. E fai a onga ngan Samoa. E ngata kolisi au isi foi vasenga ila loifo high school wa pe pa ona ola tole ngan Samoa e pe to a foi la to ye wa al me mo ya le foi lo telo al me le ni ta to eu fui oficial nan. Ver tupu. Se Maya, give me that. Wow, eu fui o vavel o pulnar. Olha uma fofa ele o Samoa então foi esse. Se Maya mel nale. Ela lhe chiu aquele nem a anche. Bi kai fa Samoa. Esa wa che ai uma alu le kaukan. Le foi que dia le kaukan ai. Ale fa malo si ai maku. Ya fa pena ko no. Fa vai el tel tu no fa nau. Ele leilen ngan Samoa. Ai Tele lo se tu langa, the pertaniel situation. Tele lo situation. Ele ma fai da fa upu de ngan Samoa. Por alme tu lai mai na luenga, ofisa, o aonga. Ole ai u Samoa na fatiana. Fa upu en fa mtalai. Ole lo po wa matal na ta. Eu pego fia e nan ele vai nan ele se foi lá tato hoje ele sal nan olha eu foi lo por isto e olha tato incorrect pe ia pera vai tal me onde aí se me on pone e foi ngofia na fa mario per tadia no fa Samoa alute malama ya ata foi pe vai fa Samoa foi an malama ta te bela na oi le ya si me silinta o ya ta talangi ngana ol fa ngalen o aso se me ele fa ele to ya ale famala to ata to famala ngan Samoa ya e pe to ya ngan lona luo fa nga sao e fa quali ya che coli ya ora lui ngan data e fa ya quali to telefalo mai ya fa ngan Samoa fa le lei la ma ne ya upu ya ngan ele se me ala ele stel tudunga ole ngan Samoa ole tie fo mai al kal ta tu sa wai mo ka ko o ya fel me taun fa ole ti por ka ya te taliton o ole ngan al lel ti o te fa mai da te fa que ta tele te no talo no se ka Kakuia e la kuai. Silia ya tia takuia la kuai. Si fa va ve. pe al mele ai istana a ngotalo e ma ho ho le sa tau fai e o solo nan e o fai o fiel ya ai am tatu le to anga tatu fama ya nada o ye o se vea ele fama ele ubiana ya fa taimo la no
Talofa, olo e mai mo mai le tautua le ala talua le KVZK TV, Pango America Samoa. You are watching KVZK TV Channel 2, Pango American Samoa.
Voice of the Sea, learning from experts across the ocean.
Welcome to Voice of the Sea.
In this episode of Voice of the Sea, we're at the Pacific Aquaculture and Coastal Resources Center at UH Hilo, where they grow oysters. First, lead researcher Maria Haas shows us edible oysters. Then we take a look at pearl oysters.
So this is the Pacific Aquaculture and Resources Center, and it used to be the wastewater treatment plant for Hilo.
Oh my goodness.
And then it was decommissioned for quite a few years, and eventually the county and state gave it over to the university to run as an aquaculture center. These used to be the wastewater treatment tank, and now we use them for various things, including growing some fish, and also as a place to grow out oysters.
So was there a lot of cleanup that you had to do to transition it from wastewater treatment to food growing place?
Yeah, since it was a brownfields project, so all these had to be completely cleaned and resurfaced so there wouldn't be any contaminants left. And we've had everything tested, it's very safe, so we can actually use it to grow food animals like oysters and fish. Let me show you some oyster spat.
Oyster spat.
Oyster spat are just juvenile oysters. And these bags that you see, if you can see these really tiny oysters, this is just window screen that we use a bag sealer on to make little bags. It's really cheap. And after they've gone through metamorphosis, in other words, they turn from a swimming larvae into a sedentary animal, this is what they look like. And so we'll grow them up in here till they're between 2 and 5 millimeters. And then some of these go to oyster farmers in Washington, and some of these go to the fish ponds to do oyster work in the fish ponds.
So you put the larvae inside of the bag?
Well, actually, I'll show you later, but they actually are settled in a different tank. So when the larvae reach the stage at which they're going to stop swimming and attach themselves, we actually force them to attach themselves to really tiny grains of oyster shell, so that they look like single oysters, not really attached to anything except that little chip. And then they're essentially single oysters, and they can be handled very easily.
Oh, okay. And then these oysters, once they grow up, they would be suitable for eating, but these you said you're going to send on to Washington.
These will go to Washington farmers or the fish ponds. And the reason we're sending them to some Washington farmers is that they've approached us to do research for them because their hatcheries are being severely affected by ocean acidification. Because as the water becomes more acid, the little larvae can't actually form their shells. It's essentially dissolving the larvae, just like it dissolves coral. So, it's one of the bad impacts of ocean acidification. This is Brian Colvall, who's our hatchery technician. Actually, he's serving as our acting hatchery manager right now.
This is what we had a problem with our oysters once they reached a certain size, once they were dying, so we didn't have enough water inside to satisfy them, so we kind of devised a system. Maria helped me figure it out, but this is what we've devised, and we need to clean this off a little bit, but it works pretty good at raising oysters. So that's what really matters.
So what do you tell people that you work on? I mean, oyster spat sounds kind of funny. How do you explain that?
We spawn the oysters. We raise them up until they're ready to be put out in Mother Nature, and so we're just taking care of them in a nursery. We're just raising them up to a certain size, giving them the food and everything that they need, and so they're stronger and ready to go out in the ocean. So we need too many oysters to satisfy what we're trying, what the market is. So we need to put back into the ocean.
How did you get interested in working with the oysters?
I got a job over in Kona working out of college, and then through I heard about a job through the university, and so I got involved over here. But I always really liked sustainability, and aquaculture makes sense because the nature. We can't keep taking out of the oceans. We're coming up with less and less each year, so we need to be putting back in, otherwise there's not going to be anything left for future generations. Can
you give me any sense of scale, like how many numbers of oysters one of those bags would produce, or how many pounds of oysters we could get out of it?
In some of those bags, we sometimes have up to 50,000 oysters.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so there's a lot of oysters. I mean, they're all very small, they're all about that big, but I mean, if you put them out in the ocean, you come back 3 years later, and those oysters are going to have grown to take up almost this entire size of this whole pond right here. So they'll go from being in a pouch that small to covering like a tideland about the size of this tank. It's really kind of amazing just to see it go from so small to you see it on a microscope to seeing it just all out there and able to feed people.
I know that there are oysters that we eat and oysters that make pearls or which we use for jewelry now, and these are food oysters. So do they look different from the pearl making oysters?
All oysters are capable of making pearls. It's just that there's certain species that make them into more like the ones we desire for jewelry. Like a lot of these oysters, as they grow older, like young oysters, they have very little, they're very young, and they usually, pearls are caused by like an irritation, and so the oyster covers it up with this little thing that it builds its shell with, but on the inside it looks different, and so eventually it forms this pearl around whatever is irritating it. So the older the animal is, the bigger the pearls are going to be.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the pearl oysters.
Oh wow, they're pretty.
And this is a strain of pearl oyster that is found in Hawaii.
So Maria, you're kind of locally famous for the oyster production, or the pearl oyster production that you do.
Well, I've been working with pearl oysters for about 20 years, and most of our work actually takes place in the Marshall Islands and the Federated States of Micronesia, where the Pacific Islanders do pearl farming. So we're trying to actually bring it to Hawaii, and actually thanks to a company in Kona, they donated these pearl oysters which were produced in their hatchery. We are working on producing pearl oyster larvae here as well, and partially for student training, of course.
And they look a lot different than the edible oysters we were just observing.
Right, so that's actually because pearl oysters, even though we call them oysters, are not really oysters. They're actually more closely related to scallops, although it's a little known fact. But these are obviously the same oysters that produce these beautiful pearls that you're wearing today. Yes. Although those probably come from Tahiti, I guess.
They're from Tahiti, yeah.
Right, so our goal is eventually to produce the same kind of pearls here in Hawaii. One of the things we're generally interested in is not just producing pearls, but restoration of the species, because it's very rare right now. So we could do restoration of the populations, and that's the same for almost all the animals we work with, because here in Hawaii, most of our shellfish species have declined drastically in their population numbers.
I feel it moving.
They do move, see, it's squirting out water. It's clamping up, so we should put it back in the water. They can stay out of the water for a while, but they prefer the nice, cool, wet situation. This is the shellfish hatchery greenhouse where we have our shellfish program for Pack-Rack. Okay, so this is the hatchery, but this is also our nursery area. So this is actually one of Brian's areas of expertise, and this is where, when the larvae is ready to stop swimming and it wants to go through metamorphosis and attach itself, this is where we do it.
So here's some of the oysters you can see swimming around. These ones we put in here yesterday. They're right there, they look like those little grains of sand. Those are millions of little baby oysters.
Wow. And these are about a month old?
These ones are about a month old, yeah. They were in those blue tanks for about a month, and then we put them in here when they're ready. And so they swim around for a little bit until they figure out that they want to go to the bottom, which is in usually a couple days before all of them find a home. Sometimes they stick to the tank, sometimes they do that, but most of them will go onto the oyster shell. The white stuff on the bottom is all oyster shell. So each one will stick to a different one of those grains of sand, and eventually you'll have oysters that are all in there. We take the oysters and the sand and everything, and we pass it through these screens here, and anything larger than this size right here will stay on top, and anything that's smaller will go through. So we can keep all the small oysters with the small oysters, and all the big guys, they can go outside.
Where we saw in those mesh envelopes.
So as long as you remove the large oysters, the small oysters will continue to grow.
So it looks to me like you have a lot more oysters in here than you have outside in those ponds.
Actually, we have comparable amounts. Usually, this is just the smaller ones, and you'll have higher numbers in here. But as they grow, you'll get less and less, like surviving to be large. So there's always going to be more in here. But once you get them out there, those are your survivors.
Gotcha. So like on average, about what percentage of them survive this stage?
After upsetting, it's like 30% of them survive, maybe sometimes more to 50% of them will actually be able to make it to be sent to be adult oysters.
Turn your love of the ocean into a lifelong career. Join NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as we unlock the secrets in the deep oceans, track rapidly moving storms, model climate trends, protect and preserve our marine resources, and so much more. It's all in a day's work at NOAA. Find a career that makes a world of difference, enriching life through science, service, and stewardship. NOAA.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. One of the hardest parts of culturing oysters is raising the algae for them to feed. Keone helps me to understand about the algae and also how to grow them.
My project as a grad student, what I'm doing is working with multiple crosses of Pacific oyster, and essentially trying to find the best species that would be most efficient in growth and size.
Wow.
What we can do is go over and take a look at how it's done before we start setting them.
Yeah, let's go take a look.
So essentially what we have here is 5 different crosses of the same Pacific oyster species, and what we're trying to do is trying to find the best species of oyster that will grow the best, that is most efficient as far as having put the less amount of resources into it and get the best yield.
They're all Pacific oysters, but you have different strains coming together, and you're mixing them to find the one that's going to grow the best. Yes. With the least amount of resource input.
Yes, and essentially in the best conditions that we here in Hawaii have. What you would see if there was larvae in here would be the algae, which would essentially settle, and it takes a while, but what you would see is really small, fine, it looks like sand almost.
Oh yeah, I can see some.
And those are the larvae. And
oh wow.
From when they're spawned to maybe about 3 to 4 weeks around there, they'll be swimming. But what's really interesting is that when they develop an eye spot or a foot, that kind of indicates when they're ready to settle. And so they'll kind of form a vortex, and then it's more or less an indicator of knowing when to set them. So by seeing that and seeing the size of them, we'll then know if they're ready to move out to be set.
And can you see their eye spot or their foot by looking at them?
No, it's all microscopic. Sorry, yeah. So it would be between 75 to 200 microns within there, and it varies.
So do you pick them up and look at them under the microscope?
Yes, we take a small sample, a random sample, and kind of look at them. And most of them you'll see inside there, so we'll just kind of tap it and let it, most of them try and settle at the bottom. And then from there we'll just place it on that slide.
There's a tiny grid on there, so you would count how many are on the whole entire slide?
Yes, on top of the entire slide. And the grid is kind of to help you, when you're counting, to know where you're at as far as rows and columns.
And can you tell the difference between the strains by looking?
No, not at this stage. I don't think even later, but as far as under the microscope, you can't really tell.
Do you have the microscope here?
Yes.
Let's go take a look.
All right. This is regular 70% alcohol, and we'll usually put this in to neutralize them from moving around. Especially when you're doing number counts, it's really hard to keep track of the ones that you've already counted. So the alcohol is a good way to neutralize them without having them die.
Oh, so it doesn't kill them?
No, it doesn't kill them, yes. So some of them you'll still see swimming around, but majority of them will be visible.
I just see kind of like a round shell and then a hook on the top of it.
Yes, so essentially what you're looking at is this right here. That round spot is the ventral area, and that umbel is that hook that you're looking at.
Yeah. And so where will their eye spot come out?
Their eye spot, at this stage, you'll still be transparent, so you'll see a black noticeable dot right around the center of its body. And later on, you'll see a foot which will develop out through the ventral part of the oyster.
So when we're in here, this looks a lot more like a science area than when we were outside. Can you show me around? What are some of the equipment that you have?
Inside here, what we have is different types of algae, and it looks nice and colorful, and pretty much is just different types of algae. So what this is for, this is pretty much how we get our oysters to keep growing. You know, this is their food, and you know, start from the bottom. Growing the algae important, and feeding them is important. So there's different types of algae that we grow, and basically the reason why we grow so much different algae is because at different stages of the oyster's life, you know, some algae might be too big, and they need smaller things that are consumable for them.
So from what I know about small, like planktonic marine organisms, this algae growing area is probably one of the most important things about your operation.
Definitely. If I'm not sure if you've seen already, but there's a lot of algae bags outside, and just big, different colored bags of algae, and pretty much that's, you know, if we don't have that, you know, the oysters don't eat, and everyone's got to eat. So yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit just about how you got interested in studying the oysters?
I'm from Hilo, born and raised, so I was really interested in the ocean and never thought too much about aquaculture. But growing up, I've had the chance to work at fish farm in Oahu, and that kind of just sparked the interest of wanting to get in the whole field of just doing stuff with the ocean, but it's sustainability and production. Those things kind of really drew me to here, and kind of hoping to build awareness as far as local kids like myself, and in high school, you know, you really don't get opportunities to see this kind of things unless it's, you know, flashed out there, which it isn't. So I was fortunate enough to get in this and get a foot in the door.
So maybe what could you tell other students that are interested in taking your same path? What do they need to do?
Just be passionate about it, you know. That I feel will get you up day in and day out to get out here, but take advantage of professors, teachers, and resources that are made to them.
So you're getting your master's degree right now in aquaculture?
Yes, in tropical conservation and biology.
Wow.
So,
well, good luck with your degree and your research.
Yes, thank you.
Exploring Our Fluid Earth is the dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group. The award-winning Fluid Earth and Living Ocean textbooks are now interactive and online. New activities, updated content, and a teacher community. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now freely available. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org. You're watching Voice of the Sea, learning from experts across the ocean.
Algae culture is a really important skill to learn if you want to work in aquaculture or marine science. And these days, if you want to work in bioenergy, because as you know, they're making biofuels out of algae. So having a basic understanding of how to select strains of algae, how to grow the algae, and how to process it is really important. And right now, if you're an algae culture technician, that's actually a very hot job. And you can get hired $40,000, $50,000 straight out of an undergraduate program.
To grow algae?
To grow algae for research purposes, or to do it in an aquaculture facility, because this is the basis of everything we do.
Why is that?
Well, because almost all our animals depend on algae as a food.
So, Michael, you've just been hired here to work in the aquaculture facility, but you used to be a student here at UH Hilo, so what are you doing now?
Well, I studied marine science at UH Hilo and emphasized aquaculture. Actually worked with Maria back in '06 and loved it so much, loved aquaculture, that wanted to pursue a career in it.
Right on. So where are we standing now?
Right now, this is our bag system. After the algae leaves the lab, we bring them out here and we start these bags. We kind of briefly talked about the types. Well, this is our Catossaurus side, and this is our Isochrysis side. The Isochrysis is better for the smaller babies, but the combination of the two provides an optimum diet for them. So the way this works is actually we have to pasteurize the water and all the nutrients that go in here, because it has to be completely sterile, or else the bag will crash and we got to start over again. So over on this side over here, we run our water, we heat it up, and then we do a quick chill to prevent any bacterial growth. And then it passes through a series of filters as well as a UV light to kill anything else. And then we add nutrients to it, and then it's all ran into these lines here. It's all pressurized. And so using these valves, you can adjust how much water and nutrients is going to each bag. They fill up to basically an overflow point, and then they flow down into the second set of pipes over into our two holding tanks here. And they will collect in the two holding tanks, and then the beginning of each day, we will pump however much we need of each type into that main tank you guys took a look at before, and then we can feed them out to the oysters. And this is what they look like when we first start them. They start out low. We're not harvesting this one, and we build its density up as it goes up the tube here. And then when it gets to harvest, hopefully it's this dense, nice color, and we can harvest it.
So they're just using the sunlight that's coming through the wall of the bag
and the nutrients that we add to the water.
And photosynthesizing away.
Exactly.
And then you guys can visually check it out, and it looks pretty easy to tell if something was going wrong. You're making observations.
Yeah, well, you can see these bags, these are older bags. You start getting a little bit of growth on the outside. And then we'll test this bag, and we'll see where it's at, if it's got too much bacteria in it, or the cells are too dilute, or we got protozoans or different things in it that we don't want it. We'll dump it. And
a protozoa would be an animal that's munching your algae.
Right. Yeah. Something that will that we don't want in with the oysters. This is a great area because it's great for learning. Anyone that shows interest in this kind of field in aquaculture, this is a perfect opportunity for them. Aquaculture is the up and coming new thing.
Why?
Because food production is going down. With the world doing what it's doing, we're going to need fish in the future. The oceans can't provide the world with food. And so aquaculture, as well as agriculture, in my opinion, is the next step.
So, Forrest, you're the hatchery assistant here?
Yes, yeah. I started working here about 2 years ago after I graduated from the Marshall Islands. I came here and started going to school and working for Maria Hawes on these oysters.
Great. So you want to show us around a bit?
Yeah. So what we have here are different life stages of the Pacific cupped oyster that we export. This is 4th week, so when we get them in, they're 1 week old, and there's a certain screen size for 1 week. Like these are 105 micron, and that's for 4th week. For 1st week, we have 41 micron screens, and they have certain flow rates. If you'll notice over here, the algae that's dripping in comes from this reservoir tank and feeds the oysters.
The University of Hawaii's Sea Grant College program focused on Hawaii's coasts and its communities through sustainable development, safe seafood supply, sustainable coastal tourism, hazard resilience, and healthy coastal ecosystems. Hawaii's Sea Grant.
The Curriculum Research and Development Group in the College of Education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. CRDG has been providing quality educational programs and services for over 40 years, serving students, teachers, parents, educators, and experts around the world and here in Hawaii. The Curriculum Research and Development Group, improving schools, improving education. CRDG.
Talofa, olo e mai mo mai le tautua le ala talua le KVZK TV, Pango America Samoa. You are watching KVZK TV Channel 2, Pango American Samoa. Talofa, olo e mai mo mai le tautua le ala talua le KVZK TV, Pango America Samoa. You are watching KVZK TV Channel 2, Pango American Samoa.
What you're about to see, the 2023-2024 JV Football Championship game happen, and it is about to go down. We've gotten all our festivities and our pre-game ceremonies out of the way, and now it is time for kickoff as the Tafuna Warriors will face the Fangaitua Vikings to claim this year's title as Asha Junior Varsity Football Champions. There you go. You see the captains on the field there. The Fangaitua Vikings and the Tafuna Warriors, in addition to player captains, both have two former NFL veterans straight from here in American Samoa representing each school. On the left side, you see there on the Tafuna side, that is Mr. Jonathan Fanini, longtime Cincinnati Bengal. And on the right side, you see Joey Josefa, the former Patriot and the former Buccaneer, also two-time Asha MVP in his days. And it's good to see them out here giving back to the community that gave them so much. And it looks like we are about to get started. Our white hat for today's game will be Mr. Tevitas Yale. And it looks like the Fangaitua Vikings are going to be kicking off. Folks, it's going to be a great game. Now, the road to the championship game was not an easy one. The Tafuna Warriors had to face off against the Leone JV Lions, and they beat them, and they earned their ticket to the championship game. The Fangaitua Vikings had to square off against the Samoana Sharks, and they defeated them, and that's how they got here. Last year's championship team was the Samoana Sharks. They were the defending champions, and they played against Marist JV last year. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, the Marist JV season was cut short, and the league went down to 4 teams, and that was the structure of the playoff, and here we are. All right. Think everything is set. Waiting this kick for the Warriors. Number 2, Ina Momoisea. Along with number 3, William Paya. Kicking off is Sawia Daniel Fiso. And this is going to go to Momoisea from the 19. Momoisea picks it up, gets a block, hits the sideline, cuts it back in, and he's going to be brought down at about the 43-yard line. 1st and 10, Tafuna Warriors to get this game underway. Quarterback for the Tafuna Warriors is number 8, Jordan Reed, the sophomore from Waitongi. He's been throwing for the Warriors since he was in 8th grade. Head coach for the Tafuna Warriors, Taufinu Oakland Salavea. Head coach for the Fangaitua Vikings, Suese Puch Tase. And here is the Tafuna offense. Offensive coordinator Loso Ialualo sends out the first play, and this is going to be Momoisea to the left. Momoisea spins off a blocker. Momoisea going to drag a defender or two for about 7 yards, bringing up 2nd and 3. Brought down by a crowd of Vikings. Leading the charge there is number 16, David Salatielu, along with number 13, Andrew Tupuli. We have 2nd and 3 now for the Tafuna Warriors. Now Jordan is going to go under center. And it's going to be a give to the fullback. Looks like an option dive. Fullback gets enough to get to the line to gain, and that's a first down. 42 on the run there. That's Joshua Tanuvasa, the sophomore from Whangaima, getting the first down for the Tafuna Warriors. Ball is now spotted right at the midfield marker. Salatielu, the sophomore from Ahua, in on the play for the Whangaitua Vikings. Another eye look, ball is dropped. They're going to pitch it out to Momoisea. Momoisea cuts it back inside, and he's going to be wrapped down. A flag comes out. Number 9, Joseph Sayuli, making that play. As we see what the flag is, number 9 there, it's a good shot of that young man. He's been making plays all season for the Whangaitua Vikings. And it looks like it's going to be a incidental face mask is what they're going to call it. All right, they move the ball a little bit further than the white hat had intended, so they're going to bring the ball back. So incidental face mask is going to be a 5-yarder from the spot. It was not malicious, so that is where they're at with that. And they're going to repeat first down. So we have a 1st and 5 now for the Tafuna Warriors following that infraction. Jordan Reed going to go end around, and this is number 5, Marcus Maluia. He's not going to get much. It's going to be an 8, maybe 9-yard gain, but he gets a first down. In on the stop, number 10 for the Whangaitua Vikings. That's Solomona Pese. He is a freshman from Ahua. Marcus Maluia, the sophomore from Nu'uli, getting that first down as they march into Viking territory.